clutter in my small living room feels heavier now, like a weight pressing down on my heart. I can almost hear the echoes of laughter that once filled these walls, memories of family dinners, birthday parties, and quiet moments spent together. But today, they feel like ghosts in a prison of my own making. I remember the day my son, David, looked me in the eye and said, "You're a burden." Those words cut deeper than any knife ever could. How could he say that after all I've sacrificed? I gave him everything. My time, my love, my dreams. I find myself staring at the faded photographs scattered across the mantel. Each one tells a story of joy, hope, and love. Yet now, they seem like reminders of a life I thought was cherished. I think of my late husband, whose laughter still lingers in the corners. He'd never have said such a thing. He believed in the vast strength of family, in the bond we shared. As I sit here, I can feel the walls closing in, suffocating me with the weight of David's words. I've always prided myself on being strong, resilient, but now I feel like a shell of the person I used to be. I wonder if he even realizes the impact of what he said. Can a single phrase really shatter a lifetime of love? I look around, and everything feels foreign. This place, once filled with warmth, now feels cold and unwelcoming. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from, and if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed because tomorrow I've saved something extra special for you. The thought of leaving stirs something within me, a flicker of hope. What if I broke free from this suffocating cycle? What if I took only what was necessary and left behind his perception of me? The prospect of starting anew sends a rush of adrenaline through my veins. I could reclaim my identity, my life, my legacy. But where would I go? How could I leave everything behind? And yet, the idea of staying here, in a place that no longer feels like home, is unbearable. I close my eyes, imagining what life could be like beyond these walls. Freedom, adventure, a chance to rediscover who I am outside of being a mother, a wife, and now a burden. I picture myself walking down a sunlit path, the air crisp and invigorating, unencumbered by the weight of judgment. But then I hear it again, David's voice. "You're a burden." It echoes in my mind, a haunting reminder of his truth or perhaps his misunderstanding. I feel the sting of betrayal mixed with disbelief. How could he think that? I've given him everything. In my heart, I know I've always tried to be the best mother I could. My fingers trace the edges of a worn photo album on the coffee table, filled with memories of him as a child. I remember the late nights of helping with homework, the earlier mornings filled with pancakes, and the countless sacrifices made for his happiness. I sacrificed my dreams, my desires, all for him and his future. And yet, here I am, labeled as a burden. I feel tears prick at the corners of my eyes as I think of all the moments I held him close, the laughter we shared, and the love that blossomed in our small home. It's as if those moments are being erased with each passing second. I can feel my heart racing, torn between the love I have for him and the need to reclaim my own life. The clutter around me begins to fade into the background as I envision a new beginning. I could take my meager possessions and set out on a journey of self-discovery. I could find a place where I am not defined by the past, but by the choices I make moving forward. But what if I leave and he doesn't care? What if he doesn't even notice I'm gone? The thought is both terrifying and liberating. I could finally be free from the expectations that have chained me to this place. I could let go of the hurt, the anger, and the sadness. As the sun begins to set, casting a warm glow through the window, I take a deep breath and make a decision. I will not let his words define me. I will leave this place, this burden, behind. I will take what is rightfully mine, my dignity, my memories, and the inheritance he thinks he deserves more than I do. Tomorrow I will begin my journey. I will pack only what I need, leaving behind the remnants of a life filled with pain and misunderstanding. I will reclaim my identity and find a place where I can breathe again, where I can redefine my legacy on my own terms. But first, I need to gather my strength. I need to remember who I am, beyond the labels placed upon me. I am more than a mother. I am a woman with a story, a journey yet to unfold. And as I reflect on the life I've led, I realize that it's time for a new chapter. Before I step into the unknown, I wonder, what will it take to fully reclaim my life and prove to myself that I am not a burden, but a force to be reckoned with? As I ponder this, I invite you to share where you're tuning in from. If this story resonates with you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow I've saved something extra special for you. I stood in the middle of my bedroom, the sunlight filtering through the curtains, illuminating the dust motes dancing in the air. The walls were painted with memories, each one echoing laughter, tears, and the simple joys of life. But today, I felt a strange mixture of heaviness and lightness pressing on my chest. It was time. With trembling hands, I opened the suitcase that felt as heavy as my heart. I started to fill it with the essentials: clothes, toiletries, and a few cherished items that held fragments of my past. I picked up my wedding band, its gold glinting in the light, a symbol of love, commitment, and now a bittersweet reminder of what once was. I could almost hear David's voice, full of warmth, telling me that love never truly leaves. It simply transforms. Next, I reached for David's baby shoes, the small scuffed leather still holding the faint scent of talcum powder from years ago. I remembered the day I first held him, how his tiny fingers wrapped around mine, filling my heart with a joy I had never known before. Does he remember those moments? I wondered, my heart twisting at the thought of leaving him behind. As I continued to pack, letters from my husband caught my eye. Each one was a window into our shared past, a reminder of dreams we once dared to dream together. I unfolded one, the familiar handwriting flowing across the page, and read the words that whispered sweet promises and plans for a future filled with love. Tears brimmed in my eyes. Was I truly ready to walk away from it all? I glanced around the room, taking in the fading photographs on the wall. Moments captured in time. David taking his first steps, his wide grin at his birthday parties, the holidays spent together. Those memories felt like a tight embrace, but they were also shackles, binding me to a life that had changed so drastically. My heart ached at the thought of leaving my son, the boy who had once looked at me with unconditional love. But then, I recalled our last conversation. His words pierced through me like shards of glass. "Mom, you're a burden. I can't take care of you anymore." Those words replayed in my mind, and I felt the weight of his disappointment. I had devoted my life to nurturing him, and yet, here I was, feeling unwanted, unloved. The guilt gnawed at me, but alongside it was a flicker of liberation. What does it mean to be free? I pondered, folding a sweater, its softness bringing me comfort. I wanted to show him that I could stand on my own, that I was more than just a mother. Each item I packed felt like a step toward reclaiming my identity, a journey that would take me beyond the confines of this house, beyond the expectations that had become so suffocating. Yet, fear loomed like a shadow. What awaited me outside these familiar walls? The unknown was both exhilarating and terrifying. I envisioned the quiet streets, the sounds of life beyond the confines of my home. Would I be brave enough to embrace it? The moments of joy from David's childhood washed over me like waves, and I wondered if he still held those memories close, or if they had faded into the background of his busy life. I remembered him running toward me with open arms, laughter spilling from his lips, and I couldn't help but ask myself, should I really leave him behind? I took a deep breath, steadying myself against the whirlwind of emotions. I was not just leaving. I was stepping into a new chapter, one that could redefine who I was. I had spent years being a caretaker, but now it was time to care for myself. As I zipped up the suitcase, the sound echoed in the stillness of the room, a finality that sent a shiver down my spine. I felt the weight of my decision pressing heavily, yet within that weight was an undeniable sense of purpose. I was reclaiming my life, my legacy, and I was determined to do it on my own terms. Stepping back, I surveyed the room once more, allowing the memories to wash over me one last time. This house had been a sanctuary, a place filled with love and laughter. But it was also a cage that kept me bound to a past that was slipping away. I held on to the belief that love doesn't disappear. It merely transforms, evolving into something new. With each step toward the door, my heart raced with anticipation and fear. I was leaving behind the comfort of familiarity, but I was also stepping into a world filled with possibilities. I paused for a moment, my hand resting on the doorknob, and I whispered, "I love you, David." I hoped he would understand, that he would one day realize this was not a rejection, but a declaration of independence. As I turned the knob and stepped outside, the sun greeted me with warmth, a reminder that every ending is just a new beginning. I inhaled deeply, taking in the scent of the fresh air, feeling the weight of my decision begin to lift. I was ready to face whatever lay ahead, to carve out a space where I could rediscover myself, and perhaps, in the process, show my son what it truly meant to live freely. The engine roared to life, and with a final glance at the house that had been my world for so long, I pulled away. The familiar streets blurred past, memories rushing in like the wind through the open window. Each turn held a story, a fragment of a life that was now behind me. I felt a mix of freedom and heartache, as if I was shedding a skin I had worn for years. Yet the weight of my son's words clung to me like a shadow, a burden. The term echoed in my mind, sharp as a knife. The road stretched ahead, a ribbon of possibility, yet my heart felt heavy with the past. I drove until the landscape changed, the suburban sprawl giving way to a quieter, more rustic charm. I spotted a quaint motel at the edge of town, its neon sign flickering gently in the fading light. Somehow, it felt right, like a temporary sanctuary where I could gather my thoughts. As I stepped into the diner next door, the warm aroma of fresh coffee enveloped me, mingling with the sounds of soft chatter and clinking dishes. It was a stark contrast to the silence of my empty home. I slid into a booth, the vinyl seats cracked but inviting, and took a moment to breathe. The world felt like a canvas waiting to be painted anew. Yet a twinge of sadness clung to me like a worn-out coat. "Coffee?" A voice broke through my reverie. I looked up to see a young waitress with kind eyes and a bright smile. "Yes, please," I replied, grateful for the simple connection. As she poured my coffee, I noticed the way her hands moved with practiced ease, a dance of familiarity with the routine. "You're new around here?" she asked, her tone warm and inviting. I hesitated, unsure of how to begin sharing my story. "Just passing through," I finally said, the words tasting bittersweet on my tongue. "Sometimes a little change is just what we need," she said, her gaze steady. "I'm Lily, by the way." "Nice to meet you, Lily. I'm just trying to find my way." Lily nodded, as if she understood more than I revealed. "We all have our struggles. You'd be surprised how many people come here looking for a fresh start." I took a sip of the coffee, letting its warmth spread through me. "I suppose I'm one of them," I admitted. "I left behind a lot, including my son." Her expression softened, and she leaned closer, as if inviting me to share more. "That sounds tough. What happened?" I swallowed hard, the lump in my throat a reminder of the conversation that had pushed me to this moment. "He thinks I'm a burden." I can't shake that feeling, even now. Lily's eyes narrowed slightly, a flash of empathy crossing her features. "You're not a burden. You're a person with a life, dreams, and stories worth telling." Her words struck a chord deep within me, reverberating with an unexpected resonance. I shared snippets of my life, the joys and the heartbreaks, the sacrifices I had made, and the loneliness that had crept in as I aged. As I spoke, I felt a connection forming, a bridge across the chasm of my isolation. "Sometimes our children don't see the whole picture," Lily said gently. "They're wrapped up in their own lives, and it's easy to forget the sacrifices our parents made for us. It's just hard to feel like I have any worth left," I confessed, my voice barely above a whisper. "You have worth, whether or not he sees it," she replied, her conviction unwavering. "Your experiences, your love, they matter. And they can still shape your future." With every word, I felt the heaviness in my chest begin to lift, like steam rising from a cup of coffee. Maybe I didn't have to remain a prisoner of my past. Maybe I could carve out a new identity, one that was mine alone. As our conversation flowed, I caught glimpses of her dreams, too. An aspiring artist, trapped in the grind of daily life, craving more than just the routine. I saw reflections of my own struggles in her eyes, and it sparked something within me. A sense of hope flickered, fragile yet persistent. "I want to do more than just exist," I said, the words tumbling out. "I want to redefine what my life means, not just for me, but for him too." Lily smiled, her enthusiasm infectious. "That's the spirit. It's never too late to start anew. You have stories to tell, art to create, and a life to live. Don't let anyone, especially not someone who can't see your worth, hold you back." Her encouragement ignited something within me, a flame of possibility that had long been dimmed. I realized that leaving didn't mean abandoning my past. It was a chance to reclaim my future, to reconnect with the parts of myself that had faded away. As the sun dipped below the horizon, I felt a stirring within me, a desire to rise from the ashes of my past. I didn't have to carry the burden of my son's opinion any longer. I could be more than what he saw. I could choose to embrace the freedom I had found on this journey. I left the diner with a heart slightly lighter and a mind swirling with ideas. The road ahead was uncertain, but for the first time I felt a sense of excitement rather than fear. I was ready to explore, to create, and to redefine who I was. One step at a time, I settled into the motel room, the air thick with the scent of faded wallpaper and the lingering essence of countless travelers before me. I took a moment to breathe, letting the weight of judgment and expectation slip away, like sand through an hourglass. This space felt like a blank canvas, devoid of the burdensome memories that had once trapped me. It was a fresh start, a chance to redefine my existence. The town outside beckoned, its streets alive with the hum of everyday life. I wandered through the neighborhood, drawn by the laughter of children and the chatter of people gathering at the local community center. Curiosity ignited a spark within me, urging me to step inside. The walls were adorned with vibrant art, a testament to creativity and expression. I felt a sense of belonging wash over me as I noticed a sign announcing a painting class. With my heart racing, I signed up. It was something I hadn't done in years, perhaps not since my son was a child. The thought of picking up a brush again was both thrilling and terrifying. I was uncertain about my ability to create, but as I entered the classroom, I was met with warm smiles and encouraging nods from fellow participants. Each person had their own story, their own struggles, and in that moment, I felt less alone. As I picked up the brush for the first time, a surge of creativity awakened within me, a part of me I had long neglected. The canvas before me was intimidating, a stark white surface waiting for color, shape, and meaning. I dipped the brush into vibrant reds and blues, feeling the bristles glide against the canvas. Each stroke became a representation of my choices, my memories, and the moments that had shaped me. I poured my hopes and fears into the paint, letting it flow freely, untethered by the judgments of my past. "Art is about expression," one of the instructors said, her voice calm and reassuring. "It's a journey, not a destination. Don't be afraid to make mistakes." Her words resonated deeply with me, awakening the realization that my life had been a series of mistakes, yes, but also a tapestry woven with resilience and strength. I watched as other participants lost themselves in their work, their laughter and conversation punctuating the air. I learned about their lives through their art, and in return, I shared my own story. The heartbreak of feeling like a burden, the pain of leaving behind everything I once knew. As I painted, I connected with my fellow artists, each of us sharing fragments of our lives. An elderly man named Harold spoke of his late wife, how she had inspired him to paint, and how he continued to honor her memory on canvas. A young woman named Mia shared her struggles with anxiety, expressing her feelings through swirling colors that mirrored her chaotic thoughts. In this nurturing environment, I found a renewed sense of purpose. The act of creation became a form of therapy, a way to transform my pain into something beautiful. Every brushstroke was a reminder that I had the power to shape my own narrative. I began to understand that the vibrant colors I applied to the canvas were not just paint. They were lessons learned, moments cherished, and a legacy I could build for myself. "Every piece tells a story," I said to Harold one afternoon, pausing to admire his work. "What do you see when you look at yours?" He studied his canvas, a landscape filled with sweeping hills and a golden sunset. "I see hope," he replied, his voice steady. "Hope for new beginnings, even in the face of loss." His words struck a chord within me. I had spent years feeling like a shadow, a burden to those I loved. But now I was reclaiming my narrative, rewriting my story, one brushstroke at a time. I wanted to discover what hope looked like for me, to find my place in a world that felt both vast and intimidating. As the weeks passed, I found myself immersed in the painting class, my life slowly transforming. I began to embrace the uncertainty of each blank canvas, allowing myself the freedom to explore and create without fear. The once sterile motel room became a sanctuary, filled with my artwork, each piece a testament to my journey of self-discovery. One evening, After a particularly productive class, I stood before my latest painting, a burst of colors swirling together in chaotic harmony. I realized I was no longer just a burden. I was an artist, a storyteller, a woman reclaiming her identity. "Look at this," I said to Mia, who had become a close friend. "It's messy, but it's me. It's everything I've been through." Mia inspected my work, her eyes lighting up with understanding. "It's beautiful, just like you." Her words warmed my heart. In that moment, I understood the importance of connection, of sharing our stories and supporting one another. We were all trying to find our place in the world, and through art, we forged bonds that went beyond our individual struggles. As I continued to grow within this community, I began to confront the deeper issues that had plagued me for so long. I realized that the pain of feeling unwanted was not solely my burden. It was a societal issue, one that affected many as they aged, often becoming invisible in a world that valued youth and productivity. In our discussions, we explored themes of legacy and memory, pondering what we wanted to leave behind. I began to reflect on my own legacy, the inheritance I had taken with me. It was more than just money. It was the lessons learned, the love shared, and the strength gained through adversity. One day, I found myself questioning the very nature of inheritance. What did it mean to leave behind a legacy? As I sat in front of my easel, paintbrush poised, I pondered, what do I want to be remembered for? That question lingered in my mind, propelling me forward as I delved deeper into my art. I began to create pieces that depicted not just my journey, but the stories of those around me, the struggles of my fellow artists, the beauty of our shared experiences. I was determined to honor our collective narratives, to shed light on the often overlooked lives of those who had faced their own burdens. As I painted, the world outside my motel room continued to spin, but I felt anchored in my newfound purpose. I was no longer just an old woman trying to prove her worth. I was part of a movement, a voice for those who felt silenced. In this small town, I found my place, a community that welcomed me with open arms. I learned that finding one's place is not just about physical location. It's about connection, understanding, and the courage to tell our stories. Each day I picked up my brush, grateful for the journey that had brought me here, ready to paint my future with all the colors of my past. Finding my footing in this new life was a journey of its own. Each morning I would sip coffee from my favorite chipped mug, the one I'd carried through years of family breakfasts that now felt like memories from another world. The sun would filter through the window, casting a warm glow that reminded me that hope still existed, even in shadows. It was during one of those quiet mornings that I met Sarah. At first, it was her laughter that drew me in. We were both at the local cafe, a refugee for those seeking solace and connection. I noticed her sitting alone at a corner table, a bright scarf wrapped around her neck, a striking contrast to the gray of the day. I could hear her laughter, light and infectious, as she chatted with the barista about the day's specials. I smiled to myself, remembering when my own laughter used to fill the air like that. As I approached her table, I felt a mix of excitement and trepidation. What would I even say? I had spent so long feeling like a burden to my own family that the thought of forming new connections sent a wave of anxiety through me. But there was something about Sarah, a warmth, an openness, that made me want to try. "Mind if I join you?" I asked, my voice trembling slightly. "Please do," she said, her eyes sparkling. "I could use the company." And just like that, a new chapter began. We spent hours talking, sharing stories that felt both heavy and liberating. Sarah told me about her son, the distance that had grown between them after he moved away for work. I sensed the sadness behind her words, a mirror reflecting my own heartache. "Sometimes it feels like they forget us, doesn't it?" she said, her voice tinged with longing. I nodded, my throat tightening. I thought I was a burden to my son, too. That's why I left. It felt strange to say it out loud, but there was a comfort in sharing the pain with someone who understood. Over the next few weeks, our friendship blossomed. Sarah invited me to her home, and as I stepped into her garden, I was immediately struck by its beauty. Flowers in all colors danced in the gentle breeze, each petal a testament to her care and dedication. "I started this garden when my son left," she explained, her hands brushing against the leaves. "It was my way of reclaiming my life, nurturing something that could still grow." I admired the vibrant blooms, feeling a flicker of hope ignite within me. "It's incredible," I said. "You've created something beautiful." We spent afternoons digging our hands into the earth, planting new seeds and discussing our hopes and dreams. Sarah taught me how to nurture not only the plants, but also my spirit. "You have to give yourself the same love you give to your garden," she said one day, as we tended to a patch of daisies. "Otherwise, nothing will flourish." I found myself reflecting on her words. I had spent so long focusing on my son's needs that I had neglected my own desires. As I planted seeds alongside Sarah, I began to understand the importance of nurturing my own dreams, the aspirations I had tucked away in the corners of my heart. One afternoon, as we sat sipping iced tea under the shade of her porch, Sarah shared her dream of starting a community garden. "I want to bring people together," she said, her eyes shining, "to create a space where others can find joy, just like we have." I felt a spark of inspiration. "Maybe we could do it together," I suggested, feeling a rush of excitement. I've always wanted to help others, to feel connected again. "And we will," she exclaimed, clapping her hands together. "Let's make it happen." Our days became filled with planning and preparing, visiting local markets to gather supplies, and rallying support from the community. Together we painted signs, organized volunteer days, and reached out to neighbors. It felt like a revival, breathing new life into the empty spaces left by our estranged families. As we worked side by side, I realized just how much I had grown. The laughter that bubbled between us, the shared stories of heartache and healing. Each moment was a reminder that I wasn't alone in my struggles. I found solace in Sarah's strength, and in turn, I began to reclaim my own. We attended community events, where I met people from all walks of life, each with their own stories of loss and resilience. One evening, as I stood under the glow of fairy lights, I felt a sense of belonging that I had thought was lost forever. I looked around at the laughter and the joy, and it struck me that these connections were worth more than any inheritance I had left behind. Sarah and I volunteered at a local charity, distributing food to families in need. Each smile we received, in return, was a reminder of the impact we could have, even in small ways. We spoke with those we helped, sharing stories that bound us together in our shared humanity. I realized that the legacy I wanted to leave wasn't tied to money or possessions, but rather the relationships I fostered and the love I gave. In moments of reflection, I often thought about my son. I wondered if he could see the transformation that was happening within me. I hoped he knew that my decision to leave wasn't about abandoning him, but about finding my own path. I wanted him to understand that I was no longer a burden, but a woman reclaiming her strength. One day, as we stood in the garden we had nurtured together, I turned to Sarah. "I feel like I'm finally starting to bloom again. I said, my voice thick with emotion. Thank you for helping me find my way. She smiled, her eyes misty. We're in this together. Remember, we're never too old to start anew. With each passing day, our friendship deepened, a testament to the power of connection and the resilience of the human spirit. I learned that it was possible to heal from the wounds of the past, while also nurturing the seeds of hope for the future. We were both growing, not just in our gardens, but within ourselves, each day a step toward a brighter tomorrow. I had once feared that my life had become a burden, but now I saw it as a garden of possibilities, filled with the promise of new friendships and renewed purpose. And as I stood among the flowers, I felt a sense of gratitude wash over me. Life was still beautiful, and I was ready to embrace it fully. I settled into my new life, the air rich with the scent of blooming jasmine and fresh coffee, yet a familiar weight pressed on my chest. Each passing day brought a deeper appreciation for my independence. But inevitably, the echoes of my past would pull me back like a tide I couldn't resist. I found solace in my routines, yet the shadows of my memories danced just beyond my reach. One evening, as I cradled a warm mug in my hands, the phone rang, slicing through the peaceful silence. The name on the screen sent a shiver down my spine. David. I hesitated, my heart caught between anger and a flicker of compassion. Mom, it's me, he said, his voice trembling with uncertainty. I've been worried sick since you left. I didn't mean what I said. I felt so overwhelmed. His words cut deeper than I wanted to admit, stirring a storm of emotions within me. Anger simmered just beneath the surface. How could he say I was a burden? I had devoted my life to him, to his happiness. But as I listened, I heard the guilt lacing his tone, a boy lost in the weight of adulthood. Telling and preparing this story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us. Now back to the story. David, I replied, my voice steady yet soft. You have to understand that I needed to find myself again, to breathe. I felt invisible in my own home, like I was just fading away. I know, he said, and I could almost hear the gears turning in his mind. I didn't think you'd go this far. I thought you were okay with everything. I needed him to understand the depth of my sacrifices, the years of selflessness that had become my identity. I was okay with you, David, but I was not okay with losing myself. I've spent decades putting you first, and I lost sight of my own dreams, my own needs. Silence hung between us like a fragile thread, stretched thin but not yet broken. You know, he finally said, the vulnerability in his voice raw. I didn't realize how much you gave up. I just thought you were always there, like a safety net. A safety net? Yes, but even safety nets can fray, David. I had to let go to mend myself, to reclaim my life. I thought you'd understand. I'm trying, he replied, a hint of desperation tinging his words. I really am. I never wanted you to feel like a burden. I didn't know how to handle everything. I didn't know how to help you. His admission struck a chord deep within me. I could feel the walls we built between us starting to crack. You were never to blame, David. I hid my struggles, thinking I could protect you from the burden of my pain. But I see now. I should have shared it with you. The conversation shifted, revealing layers of regret and hope. We both talked about our lives, about the joy and pain that had shaped us over the years. I remembered the laughter, the shared moments of happiness, and how easily they could be overshadowed by misunderstandings. You know, I thought I was doing the right thing by pushing you to be independent, he said. But I see now how lost I made you feel. I thought I was helping you by encouraging your strength. You were in a way, I admitted. But strength isn't just about standing alone. Sometimes it's about leaning on one another. We've both been so busy trying to prove we can manage without the other that we forgot how to be a family. Vahavi. We spoke. The tension between us transformed, unraveling the complexities of our relationship. It was painful and beautiful, like the process of healing itself. I miss you, Mom, David said, his voice trembling. I miss the way things used to be. I miss that too, I whispered, feeling tears well in my eyes. But we can't go back, can we? We can only move forward. I want to try, he said, a spark of determination igniting in his tone. I want to understand you better, to be there for you. I want to be a son you can be proud of. And I want to be a mother who inspires you, I replied, the warmth of his words wrapping around me like a comforting blanket. We can't erase the past, but we can build a future together, brick by brick, if you're willing. I am, he said with newfound resolve. I'm willing to listen, to learn, to be better. But I need you to promise me something. What's that? Promise me you won't disappear again. Promise me that we'll face whatever comes, together. I took a deep breath, feeling the weight of his request. I promise, I said, though a part of me still ached with uncertainty. But you have to promise me too. Promise me that you'll be open, that you'll share your struggles with me. No more hiding. Deal, he replied, and I could hear the sincerity in his voice. We lingered in that moment, the distance between us diminishing with every word exchanged. It was just the beginning, but it felt like a breath of fresh air, a chance for renewal. As the call ended, I reflected on the path we had traveled, a journey filled with both shadows and light. David's call had sparked something deep within me, a desire to confront not just my past, but the wounds we had inflicted on each other along the way. I gazed out the window, watching as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink. It was a reminder that even the darkest nights eventually give way to dawn. In that moment, I knew we both craved healing. Though the road ahead would be bumpy, I felt a flicker of hope. Perhaps, together, we could forge a new legacy, one built on understanding, compassion, and love. The past may have shaped us, but it didn't have to define us. As the days turned into weeks, I found myself drafting messages to David, pouring my heart into each word. I had never expected to feel so vulnerable again, but the weight of my perceived burden sat heavily on my chest. I wrote about my fears, my loneliness, and the guilt that had wrapped itself around me tighter than any embrace. Each time I pressed send, I felt a flicker of hope and dread, wondering if he would understand the depth of my feelings, or if he would simply see me as the burden I had tried so hard to shed. David replied with a mixture of guilt and responsibility, woven into his words. I never meant to make you feel that way, Mom. It's just, life has been so overwhelming. I've been trying to hold everything together. The honesty in his message struck me like a bolt of lightning, illuminating the shadows that had crept into our relationship. I realized then that he was battling demons of his own, ones that I had been blind to, wrapped up in my own struggles. Our conversation shifted from confrontational exchanges to something more profound. We began to reminisce about our past, those fleeting moments of joy that once defined our bond. I could almost hear his laughter echoing in my mind, The sound of a carefree child who thought the world was filled with magic. "Do you remember when I made that awful spaghetti for you?" He texted one evening, and I couldn't help but laugh. I could visualize his proud little face, the kitchen a disaster zone, and the taste of burnt garlic filling the air. "You pretended it was the best thing you ever ate." "Of course I do, and I still have the recipe," I replied, my heart warming at the memory. The laughter we shared through our texts became the stitches mending the frayed edges of our relationship. Each memory brought us closer, weaving a tapestry of shared experiences that had been nearly forgotten. With each exchange, I felt the faintest glimmer of hope that we could rebuild what had been lost. I wanted to see him, to talk face to face, but the thought filled me with anxiety. What if the years of distance had created a chasm too wide to bridge? I tentatively suggested that we meet at the community center where I had been finding solace. "It's a good place," I typed carefully. "Lots of light, and people to share stories with. I think it could be nice." His response was delayed, and my heart raced as I wondered if I had pushed too hard. When he finally replied, it was like a balm for my worries. "I'd love to, Mom. Let's do it." The day of our meeting arrived, and I felt torn between excitement and fear. I had spent the morning preparing, wearing my favorite blouse, the one that always made me feel a little more confident. As I looked in the mirror, I took a deep breath, reminding myself that vulnerability was a strength, not a weakness. I had made my choices, and it was time to embrace the consequences, whatever they may be. When I arrived at the community center, the familiar scent of coffee and baked goods enveloped me. The walls were adorned with vibrant artwork created by local children, each piece a testament to the innocence and creativity of youth. I sat at a small table in the corner, my hands wrapped around a warm cup of tea, the steam rising like my hopes. Minutes felt like hours as I waited, my heart pounding in anticipation. I glanced at the clock, then back at the door, willing him to walk through. Finally he entered, and my breath caught in my throat. David looked different, older perhaps, with shadows under his eyes that hadn't been there before. But when our eyes met, something shifted. A spark of recognition flickered between us. "Mom," he said, his voice a mixture of awe and uncertainty. "David," I replied, my voice trembling. We exchanged a hesitant hug, both of us holding back a flood of emotions. The warmth of his embrace felt like coming home, yet it also reminded me of how far we had drifted. As we settled into our seats, the initial awkwardness hung in the air, but I could sense the tension slowly dissipating. "Thank you for coming," I said, trying to break the silence. "I've missed you." "I've missed you too," he admitted, his gaze dropping to the table. "I didn't realize how much until I got your messages." I took a sip of my tea, steeling myself for the deeper conversation we both needed to have. "I've been thinking a lot about what you said, that I was a burden. I wanted to understand what you meant." He looked up, his eyes reflecting a mixture of regret and frustration. "I didn't mean it like that. It was just everything felt too heavy. I didn't know how to manage my life, and you were part of that chaos. It felt easier to push you away." I nodded, absorbing his words. "I understand that now. I've spent so much time thinking I was the problem, but I see that we're both carrying our own burdens." As we spoke, the conversation ebbed and flowed, like a dance of vulnerability. We shared stories, some painful, others filled with laughter. I found myself opening up about my loneliness, how being on my own had been an unfamiliar territory that I was still navigating. He shared his struggles with work and relationships, the weight of expectations pressing down on him. The laughter we exchanged felt like a balm to our wounded hearts. I could see glimpses of the boy I once raised, the boy who would climb trees with me in the backyard, the one who believed in the magic of the world. Those memories flickered like fireflies in the night, illuminating our past with warmth. As the sun began to set outside, casting a golden glow through the windows, I felt a shift in our dynamic. The stakes were high. This meeting could either mend our bond or deepen the rift. But I chose to embrace vulnerability, to let go of the fear that had held me captive for so long. "David," I began, my voice steady but laced with emotion. "I want us to start fresh. I want to rebuild what we lost. It's going to take time, but I believe we can do it." He looked at me, his expression softening. "I'd like that, Mom. I really would." In that moment, I realized that legacy isn't just about what we leave behind. It's about the connections we nurture. As we left the community center together, a sense of hope blossomed within me. We were still on the journey of rebuilding, but now we were doing it side by side, ready to face whatever came next together. The air buzzed with a mix of anticipation and anxiety as I watched the door of the community center swing open. David stepped inside, and for a moment, the world fell away. It was surreal, like stepping into a dream I never thought I'd have. We stood there awkwardly, the distance between us filled with the weight of unspoken words and memories that had long lingered in the silence. His eyes met mine, and I could see the shadows of our past weighing heavy on his shoulders. But there was something new in his gaze, a maturity, a deeper awareness. It was as if he had stepped out of a cocoon, transformed by experiences I had yet to know about. I felt my heart race, and before I could second-guess myself, I closed the distance and wrapped my arms around him in an embrace that spoke volumes. It was a gesture filled with all the apologies I hadn't been able to voice, and all the love I still held in my heart. A tension hung in the air, thick and palpable, as we finally settled into our seats at the small table in the corner. The warmth of the community center enveloped us, filled with the scent of fresh coffee and baked goods, a stark contrast to the coldness I had felt in our last moments together. I could hear laughter and chatter around us, but in that moment it was just David and me, two souls trying to bridge a chasm that felt insurmountable. "Thanks for coming," I managed to say, my voice barely above a whisper. He nodded, his expression softening. "I wasn't sure if you would really show up." I chuckled lightly, trying to ease the tension. "Well, I wouldn't miss it for the world." As we began to share a meal, the conversation started off hesitantly. Each word weighed, down by history. I could feel the vulnerability in his voice as he spoke about his life, the challenges he faced, and the dreams he had once shelved away. I listened intently, my heart swelling with a mix of pride and sorrow. He had grown into a man I barely recognized, yet he was still my son, the little boy who once believed I could do no wrong. "I felt lost for a long time," David admitted, his fork pausing midair. "After you left, it was like I was wandering without a compass." His honesty struck a chord within me. I too had felt lost, searching for my own identity outside of the roles I had been confined to. "I understand," I replied softly. Leaving was my way of finding myself, but it came at a cost, one I hadn't calculated. He leaned in slightly, his gaze locked onto mine. "Did you ever think about coming back?" The question hung in the air like a heavy fog. I swallowed, hard, memories flooding back, the loneliness, the guilt, the sense of freedom mingled with regret. Every day, I confessed. But I didn't know if you wanted me back. I was scared I'd just be a burden again. He shook his head, a flicker of frustration crossing his features. You weren't a burden. You were my mother. I didn't understand it then. The conversation flowed more freely as we shared laughter over our culinary mishaps and exchanged stories of our lives since that fateful day. There was a warmth in his laughter that I hadn't heard in years, a melody that felt like home. With each anecdote, we peeled away layers of hurt, revealing the love that still lingered beneath the surface. As we transitioned into deeper topics, the atmosphere shifted. I shared my journey of self-discovery, the challenges I faced as I learned to navigate the world alone. I spoke of the nights filled with doubt, the moments of clarity that came unexpectedly, and the realization that I was worthy of my own love. It's been a journey, David, I said, my voice steady. I thought I had to prove my worth by leaving, but I learned that it's about embracing who we are, flaws and all. He listened, nodding, and then opened up about his own struggles. I lost myself in work, chasing something I thought would make me happy. But it all felt hollow. I just wanted to make you proud. Each word he spoke was a thread weaving a tapestry of understanding between us. I could see him transforming before my eyes, shedding the boy who felt abandoned for the man who was ready to confront the past. You don't have to chase my approval, I replied, my heart swelling. You've always had it. You just needed to believe in yourself. The meal came to an end, but the conversation lingered, rich and nourishing. We spoke of hopes and dreams, of futures still unwritten, and the legacy we wanted to create together. There was a lightness in the air now, a shared understanding that had been absent for so long. As we prepared to leave, I felt a sense of hope blooming inside me. David and I had taken the first steps toward rebuilding our relationship, and while it wouldn't be easy, I knew it was a journey worth embarking on. I reached out and squeezed his hand, a silent promise that we would navigate this path together. Let's not wait so long next time, he said, a hint of a smile playing on his lips. Agreed, I replied, feeling a warmth spreading through me. As we stepped outside, the world felt brighter, filled with possibility. I realized that the journey of rebuilding our bond was just beginning, and I was ready to embrace every moment of it. As I sat across from David, the air thick with unsaid words, I couldn't shake the feeling that we were on the brink of something monumental. Our journey had taken us through valleys of misunderstanding, and now, as we faced each other, there was a fragile hope that we could start anew. Mom, he began, his voice barely above a whisper. I didn't mean what I said. I never wanted you to feel like a burden. I took a deep breath, the weight of those words still fresh in my heart. I know, David, but you have to understand. My leaving wasn't about you. It was about me reclaiming a part of myself that I had lost in trying to be what everyone expected. I wanted to be more than just your mother. His brow furrowed, and I could see the wheels turning in his mind. I thought if I pushed you away, it would make things easier for both of us. I didn't realize it would hurt you like that. It hurt me more than you know, I admitted, my voice trembling slightly. But it also opened my eyes. I needed space to breathe, to rediscover who I was outside of being your mom. I lost sight of my own dreams, my passions. I thought that by being strong for you, I was doing the right thing. But in truth, I was suffocating both of us. He nodded, slowly, the understanding washing over his face. I've been scared too. Scared that I wouldn't measure up, that I would always be seen as your son, and never as my own person. I thought if I pushed you away, I could figure things out without feeling like I was disappointing you. David, you could never disappoint me. You are a remarkable young man, and I see so much of you in me. We both have our fears, our insecurities, but we've let them fester, haven't we? Yeah, he said, his gaze dropping to the table. I never really talked about it. I just buried it under anger and frustration. Communication, sweetheart. It's what we've both lacked. I've spent too long believing silence was strength, but it's not. It's isolation. I paused, letting the weight of my words sink in. I want you to feel safe sharing your feelings with me, even when they're messy. We need to break this cycle. He looked up, a flicker of hope igniting in his eyes. So, where do we begin? How do we fix this? With a soft smile, I replied, we start here right now, by being honest. Let's share our fears and dreams, even the ones we've been too afraid to voice. It's time to build a bridge instead of a wall. I dream of being a writer, he admitted, his voice stronger now. But I thought you'd think it was foolish, like I'd never make it, or that it wouldn't be enough. My heart swelled with pride. That's not foolish at all, David. That's a beautiful dream. You have a voice that deserves to be heard. I want you to pursue it, whatever it takes. I wish I had known you felt that way, he said, his expression softening. I always thought you wanted me to follow a more traditional path. Tradition can be suffocating, my dear. I spent years following a path that wasn't mine, and it led me to a place of emptiness. I don't want that for you. We both fell silent for a moment, the weight of our shared experiences lingering in the air. I could see the walls between us beginning to crumble, brick by brick. You know, I continued, family isn't just about blood. It's about emotional connection, understanding, and the willingness to grow together. We can redefine what it means to be family. He smiled, the warmth radiating from him like sunlight breaking through the clouds. That sounds nice. I want that too. Let's honor our past, I suggested. But let's not be bound by it. We can carry the legacy of love and sacrifice forward without being trapped by it. We can create our own memories, ones filled with laughter, understanding, and honesty. I want to be a part of that, David said firmly. I want to learn from your mistakes and my own. I want to embrace our family's story, but I also want to write my own. Exactly, I said, my heart racing at the thought. And we can do that together. We can support each other in ways we never imagined. As we talked, I could feel the heaviness of the past slowly lifting. Each word we shared was a step towards healing, not only for us, but for the legacy we were building together. I could see now how our experiences, our struggles, and our fears intertwined to form a beautiful tapestry of resilience and love. I want to know more about you, Mom. What were your dreams? David asked, his curiosity genuine. I smiled softly, a flood of memories rushing in. I wanted to travel, to paint, to write poetry. I wanted to see the world through a different lens, to experience life fully. But somewhere along the way, I lost that vision, focusing solely on the responsibilities of motherhood. I wish you had told me, he said, genuine regret in his voice. Maybe I wouldn't have felt so alone in my own dreams. I kept it to myself, thinking it would spare you the burden of my unfulfilled wishes, but it only added weight to our relationship, I realize now that sharing those dreams could have brought us closer. I want to hear about your travels and your poetry, he said, leaning in with interest. Maybe we can do some of those things together. Absolutely, I exclaimed, excitement bubbling within me. We could start with a weekend trip, somewhere you've always wanted to go. Or we could take a painting class together. I'd love that, he replied, his enthusiasm infectious. And who knows? Maybe I'll write about our adventures. See? I chuckled, the warmth spreading through me. You already have the spark of a storyteller. Let's nurture that. As our conversation flowed, I felt a renewed sense of purpose. We were not just mother and son. We were two individuals embarking on a journey of discovery and growth. In that moment, I understood that leaving had not been an act of abandonment, but rather a necessary step towards transformation. I had created space for both of us to evolve, to reclaim our identities. Mom, David said, his voice steady, can we promise to keep this connection strong? No more silence or misunderstandings? Absolutely, I replied, my heart swelling with love. Let's make a pact to communicate openly and honestly, to share our struggles and triumphs. It's time we built a foundation of trust. I'm in, he said, a smile breaking across his face. Here's to new beginnings. Here's to us. I echoed, my own smile reflecting his. As we sat together, I felt the bonds of our relationship strengthening, woven together by understanding and shared dreams. I realized that family is not just defined by proximity, but by the emotional connections we forge and nurture. Our shared experiences, both painful and joyful, had shaped us into who we were, and together we would honor our past while building a brighter future. With every word spoken, every fear shared, I felt the transformation taking place. The lessons learned through our journey would not only guide us, but also become the legacy we passed on to future generations. In this moment, I knew we were on the right path, ready to embrace the adventures that awaited us. I stand in front of the community center, the familiar scent of paint and varnish swirling around me, a palpable reminder of my renewed sense of purpose. The vibrant colors of the artwork displayed on the walls reflect not only the talents of local artists, but the years of my own hidden creativity. For so long, I felt lost, drifting through life like a forgotten piece of art, neglected and unseen. But today I feel different. Today I am here to embrace change. As I glance around, I see laughter and smiles, a community gathered to appreciate each other's artistry. Each piece tells a story, much like my own, layered with emotion, struggle, and resilience. I remember the day I decided to take this leap, to organize this exhibit and give other artists a platform. It was a moment of clarity, a decision born from a desire not just to create, but to connect. Mom, this is incredible. David's voice cuts through my thoughts, his eyes wide with admiration as he steps into the gallery. I can't help but smile, warmth enveloping me like a blanket. Seeing him here, supporting me, means more than I can express. It signifies a shift in our relationship, a new chapter filled with understanding and acceptance. Thank you, sweetheart. It felt important to showcase our stories. I reply, my voice steady, yet tinged with emotion. David's presence is a reminder that I am not alone. We are bonded by more than just blood. We are connected by our shared journeys and the lessons we've learned along the way. I watch as he wanders through the room, pausing before each painting, his fingers brushing the frames as if he were absorbing their essence. I never knew you had this much talent, he says, turning to me, his eyes sparkling with pride. You've really outdone yourself. It's not just me, David. Look around. This is about all of us. Our community. Our stories. I gesture around the room, feeling a swell of pride for each artist who dared to share their voice. The exhibit symbolizes more than just art. It's a tapestry of human experience, woven with threads of vulnerability and courage. As we stroll through the space filled with creativity, I can't help but reflect on my journey, the pain of feeling like a burden, the heartbreak of leaving behind a life I once cherished, and the struggle to find my way back to myself. It hasn't been easy, but in this moment, I realize that every brushstroke has led me here, to this celebration of life and expression. Mom, I've been thinking. David's voice pulls me from my reverie. About what you said, about feeling like a burden. I want you to know that you're not. I've been working on my own passions, too. His admission surprises me, and I feel a flutter of hope. I've started painting again, just for myself. Really? That's wonderful, I exclaim, unable to hide my excitement. I never imagined my journey would inspire him to reignite his own passions. What are you working on? Just some landscapes for now. It helps clear my mind. He replies, his face lighting up with enthusiasm. I want to show them here, someday. Yes, absolutely. We can have a David exhibit next. I laugh, the sound ringing with joy. The idea of him sharing his art fills me with pride. I can see the spark of creativity igniting within him, and it's a beautiful sight. We move to a corner of the gallery where my own work hangs, pieces that reflect my journey, my fears, and my triumphs. As he studies them, I feel a mix of vulnerability and exhilaration. This one. It's powerful, he says, pointing to a painting of a stormy sea, waves crashing against a fragile boat. It's like you're showing the struggle to find peace. That's exactly it, I respond, touched by his insight. I wanted to convey the chaos we sometimes feel inside, but also the hope that we can find our way through it. David nods, deep in thought. It's amazing how art can express what words sometimes can't. Yes, and that's why this exhibit matters, I say, my heart swelling with purpose. Art has the power to heal, to connect us. It allows us to share our burdens and our joys. As the evening unfolds, I find myself lost in conversations with other artists and attendees. Each story shared feels like a thread weaving us closer together. The laughter and excitement in the air remind me of the beauty in human connection, the strength we find in vulnerability. Later, as the crowd begins to thin, David and I step outside, the cool evening air brushing against our skin. The stars twinkle above, a vast expanse of possibilities. You know, Mom, he begins, I never thought we could be this close again. I really admire what you've done. It's inspiring. I smile, feeling a deep sense of gratitude for this moment. Thank you, David. It means the world to me. I've learned that we can support each other, that we can grow together. Yeah, and it's about time we both realize that. He chuckles softly, shaking his head. Life is too short to hold on to the past. We need to embrace change, like you said. Exactly. Each day is a chance to create something new, to shape our legacy. I reply, my heart swelling with hope. Let's not be burdened by what was. Instead, let's celebrate what can be. In that moment, I see a future filled with promise. A future where we uplift each other, where our dreams intertwine like the colors on a canvas, no longer haunted by the past, We stand ready to face whatever challenges may come our way. Together, David says, extending his hand toward me. Together, I echo, taking his hand in mine. As we walk away from the community center, I am filled with a sense of purpose. I've not only transformed my own life, but have also sparked a flame in David. Our journey is just beginning, and I can't help but wonder what beautiful creations we will bring into the world together. As the seasons shifted, I found myself standing on the precipice of my own transformation. The air had turned crisp, the leaves a brilliant tapestry of oranges and reds, and I felt a stirring within me, a reflection of the journey I had taken. How did I go from feeling like a burden to discovering the strength that lay dormant within me? Each painful moment had been a brushstroke in the mural of my life, crafting a picture I never thought I could paint. I began to write letters to my past self. "Dear me," I started, the ink flowing freely as I poured out my heart. "You are not a burden. You are a vessel of resilience, capable of weathering storms. Remember the nights you spent crying, the days when you felt invisible? Those moments are not your shackles, they are your wings." With every line I felt lighter, as if the weight of my past was lifting, unveiling a brighter horizon. I recalled the times my son had looked at me with disdain, the words "burden" echoing in my mind like a haunting refrain. But now those words had become mere whispers. I wrote about gratitude, about how the pain had shaped me, leading me to this moment of clarity and purpose. "Thank you for the struggles," I penned. "Thank you for the lessons that taught me I am worthy of love and respect, not just from others, but from myself. In my heart, I knew healing wasn't a straight path. It meandered like the winding roads I had walked along in the past, sometimes leading me back to old wounds. Yet with each return, I found new strength, new understanding. I began to reach out to Sarah, my confidant and friend. Our conversations became a lifeline, a bridge connecting our shared experiences. "Remember when we first met?" I asked her one afternoon, the sun casting a warm glow across the room. I was lost, unsure of my worth. She smiled softly, her eyes reflecting the wisdom of her own journey. "You've grown so much. We all have. It's like we're weaving our own stories together, forming a tapestry of support." Her words resonated deeply. We weren't just individual threads. We were part of something bigger, a community that nurtured growth and healing. I reached out to others I had met along the way, each with their own triumphs and struggles. Together we created a sanctuary, a place where we could share our stories without fear of judgment. I remembered one particular evening, sitting in a circle with my friends, candles flickering softly around us. As we shared our stories, laughter mingled with tears, the air thick with empathy and understanding. I felt a sense of belonging I had longed for, a realization that I was not alone in my journey. "Every scar tells a story," I said, my voice steady despite the emotions swirling within me. "And together, our stories can inspire change." With each passing season, I felt the layers of my past peeling away, revealing a vibrant new life. I began to paint a mural on the wall of my studio, each stroke symbolic of my transformation. The colors danced across the canvas, deep blues for sorrow, bright yellows for hope, and lush greens for renewal. It was a reflection of everything I had experienced, a testament to my resilience. As I stood before the canvas, I thought of the love I had discovered within myself. I painted a tree, its roots deep and strong, branches reaching toward the sky. It represented growth, a reminder that we are all connected, our roots intertwined in the fabric of life. I felt a surge of emotion as I added blossoms to the branches, each one a symbol of the love and support I had received from my friends. I painted Sarah's laughter, the warmth of shared moments, and the strength found in vulnerability. It was a celebration of life, a tribute to the journey that had brought me here. In those quiet moments of reflection, I understood that healing was not a destination but a continuous journey. There would be setbacks, days when the shadows threatened to creep back in, but I now had the tools to fight them. I had learned to lean on my community, to share my burdens rather than bear them alone. As I finished the mural, I stepped back to admire my work. It was more than just paint on a wall. It was a manifestation of my growth, a reminder of my journey from feeling like a burden to standing tall in my truth. I felt a sense of pride, a deep, resonant joy that echoed through me. I took a deep breath, inhaling the fresh paint and the promise of new beginnings. "This is just the beginning," I whispered to myself, a smile tugging at my lips. I was ready to embrace the future, to continue my journey of hope, love, and transformation. And with that, I turned back to my letters, the words flowing like a river of possibility. I wrote with fervor, the ink capturing my dreams, my ambitions, and my unwavering belief that together we could create a world where every story mattered. I sealed the letters, ready to share them with those who had walked alongside me. I hoped they would inspire others, just as my friends had inspired me. As I placed them in an envelope, I felt a sense of fulfillment wash over me. In that moment, I realized that life was a beautiful tapestry, woven together with threads of joy, sorrow, and everything in between. Each moment, each experience had shaped me, and I was grateful for every single one. As I looked out the window, watching the leaves dance in the wind, I knew my journey was far from over. I was ready to embrace whatever came next, fueled by the love and support of my community, and the unshakable belief that I was worthy of every beautiful moment life had to offer. I stood in the middle of the community center, surrounded by the vibrant colors of art that told stories of resilience, pain, and joy. Each piece was a testament to lives lived and battles fought. My heart swelled with pride as I looked at the faces of those who had come together, their expressions a mix of hope and understanding. It had been a long journey from feeling like a burden to standing here, surrounded by a community that had embraced me. When I first left my son, I thought I was seeking freedom, but what I found instead was something much deeper, a connection to people who had faced their own struggles, yet still found ways to celebrate life. David had become my anchor through this process. He helped me organize the exhibition, pouring his heart into every detail alongside me. "This is more than just an event," he said one day, as we arranged the pieces. "It's a chance for everyone to share their truth." His words resonated with me, echoing the essence of what I had hoped to create, a legacy of love that transcended individual stories. As the day of the exhibition approached, excitement buzzed in the air. The community had rallied behind the idea, contributing their artwork and narratives, each piece a reflection of their journey. I felt a sense of belonging I hadn't known in years, as if I had finally found my place in the world. On the morning of the exhibition, I arrived early, the sun casting a warm glow through the large windows. I could hear the quiet hum of voices and laughter as people began to gather. My heart raced. Would they see the beauty in these stories? Would they understand the strength that lay within each piece? David arrived carrying a stack of flyers. "Let's make sure everyone knows about this," he said, enthusiasm shining in his eyes. I watched him as he moved through the crowd, engaging with others, introducing them to one another. I felt a swell of gratitude for his presence in my life. He had become more than just a friend. He had become family. As the exhibition opened, I stood at the entrance, welcoming guests with a smile. Each person who walked in seemed to carry their own burdens. Yet there was a shared lightness in the air, a sense of unity that filled the room. I could hear snippets of conversations, stories being shared and connections being forged. One woman approached me, her eyes glistening with tears. "This piece," she said, pointing to a painting that depicted a stormy sea. "It reflects my struggle with depression. I've never shared it with anyone before." Her vulnerability touched me deeply. I took her hands in mine, feeling the warmth of her spirit. "Thank you for sharing this with us. You are not alone," I said, my voice steady. As the day wore on, I noticed my son standing at the back of the room, observing quietly. My heart ached for him. I longed to bridge the gap between us, to share with him how much this journey had changed me. But for now, I focused on the event, on the stories and the people who surrounded me. At one point, David joined me, his expression contemplative. "You've created something beautiful here," he said, gesturing to the exhibition. I nodded, feeling a sense of fulfillment. "It's not just mine. It belongs to everyone who has shared their story," I replied. As the sun began to set, casting a golden hue across the room, I stepped away from the crowd for a moment of reflection. I leaned against the wall, closing my eyes and letting the sounds of laughter and conversation wash over me. I had created a legacy, a tapestry of love and experience that would continue to grow long after today. Suddenly, I felt a presence beside me. I opened my eyes to find my son standing there, uncertainty etched on his face. "Mom," he began, his voice trembling slightly. You don't have to say anything," I interrupted gently. "I just want you to know that I've changed." He looked at me, searching for the right words. "I saw the stories today. I saw the strength in this community, and I realized how much you've given to others." A lump formed in my throat. I left to find myself, but what I found was a way to connect with others. I hope you can see that. He nodded slowly, taking a deep breath. "I didn't understand what you were going through. I thought leaving meant you were giving up on us. But now—" His voice trailed off and I could see the conflict in his eyes. "Now you see that love doesn't always look the same," I offered. "Sometimes it means creating space for healing." He stepped closer, vulnerability shining through his eyes. "Can we start over?" I felt a rush of emotions, relief, hope, and a lingering fear. "I would like that," I said, softly. As the evening progressed, we began to talk, sharing our thoughts and feelings, our pasts intertwining in a way I had longed for. The exhibition became a backdrop for our reconnection, a celebration not just of art, but of our shared legacy. When the night came to an end, and the last guests had left, I stood in the empty room, surrounded by the echoes of laughter and the aroma of paint and creativity. David joined me, a content smile on his face. "You did it," he said. "I couldn't have done it without you," I replied, my heart full. Together we began to pack up, but I knew that this was just the beginning. This legacy of love, woven through the stories of our community, would continue to grow, touching lives in ways we couldn't yet imagine. As I stepped outside, the cool night air wrapped around me like a comforting blanket. I took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the past lift slightly. I had left to find freedom, but what I found instead was the true meaning of belonging. And as I glanced back at the community center, my heart swelled with hope for the future. What stories would we tell next? What connections would we forge? The possibilities felt endless, and I was ready to embrace them all. I stand at the edge of a new chapter in my life, feeling a renewed sense of purpose wash over me like a gentle afternoon breeze. The sun spills warmth on my face, and I can't help but smile as I think of David. Our bond has transformed from the painful distance of estrangement to a connection that nourishes my soul. Together we plan adventures that stretch beyond the confines of our past experiences. Trips to places we've only dreamed of, workshops that ignite our curiosity, and moments that remind us of the beauty in shared laughter. Reflecting on our journey, I marvel at how far we've come. It wasn't long ago that I felt like a burden, abandoned and unwanted. Now, with every step I take alongside David, I feel lighter, as if the weight of my past has been lifted. We've built something beautiful from the ashes of our former relationship, a testament to the power of love and forgiveness. I find myself thinking about the stories I carry, the experiences that have shaped me. My past is a tapestry woven with both joy and sorrow, and I realize it's not just for me to hold. There are countless others out there who might feel as lost as I once did. I want to reach out to them, to share my story, to let them know they're not alone. Maybe, just maybe, my journey can inspire someone to find their own path to healing. As I sit on the porch, sipping my morning tea, the aroma wafts around me, evoking memories of my childhood, of my mother teaching me the art of brewing the perfect cup. I can almost hear her voice, urging me to embrace life fully, to savor every moment. I want to embody that spirit, to reach out to those who feel burdened by their own lives, to remind them that transformation is possible. I start to sketch out ideas for a blog, a way to share my experiences publicly. I envision words flowing from my heart to the pages, a narrative that blends my journey with insights that might resonate with others. I want to talk about resilience, about the beauty that can emerge from struggle, about the unexpected blessings that life can offer when we least expect them. With each word I write, I feel a sense of catharsis. I remember the nights I spent in tears, feeling invisible, and I want to turn that pain into a beacon of hope for others. It's essential to me that my story reflects not just my transformation, but also the depth of human experience. There's a universality to our struggles. We all have our burdens, our stories of loss and redemption. David and I have been exploring together, visiting art galleries and attending workshops that inspire creativity. Each experience strengthens our bond, allowing us to create new memories that overshadow the past. I watch as he flourishes, too, his laughter ringing out like music, his eyes sparkling with newfound joy. It's a privilege to share this journey with him, to see him embrace life fully, and to know that I have played a part in that transformation. One afternoon, as we stroll through a vibrant street fair, I feel a rush of gratitude. The colors around us seem to mirror the joy in my heart. We stop at a stall selling handmade jewelry, and I can't help but admire the intricate designs. David notices my interest and nudges me playfully. "Go on, treat yourself," he says, and I feel a warmth spread through me. It's a simple act, but it signifies so much more. The acceptance, the love, the understanding that I am worthy of joy and beauty. As I pick out a delicate necklace, I realize it's not just a piece of jewelry. It's a symbol of my journey, a reminder that I am reclaiming my life. Later, we attend a workshop on storytelling, where participants share their life experiences. Listening to others speak, I feel a tug at my heart. Their stories echo my own, filled with pain, hope, and the search for belonging. I find myself sharing my journey, my voice steady and clear, as I recount the days I felt like a burden. I watch the faces in the audience soften, nodding in understanding. Afterward, a woman approaches me, tears glistening in her eyes. "Thank you for sharing that," she whispers. I thought I was alone in feeling this way. In that moment, I realized the power of vulnerability, the strength it takes to share one's truth. We all carry burdens, but it's in our shared experiences that we find connection. As the weeks pass, I immerse myself in this new chapter, allowing it to unfold organically. I continue to write, my blog gaining traction as readers resonate with my words. I receive messages from people across the globe, sharing their stories, their struggles, and their triumphs. It's overwhelming in the best way possible. I'm no longer just living my life. I'm part of a larger narrative, a community that uplifts one another. One evening, as David and I sit on the porch, a soft breeze rustling the leaves around us. He turns to me, a thoughtful expression on his face. "You know," he says, "you've always been so strong, but it's incredible to see you embrace vulnerability. It's like you've found your voice again." His words fill me with warmth. It's true. I've reclaimed parts of myself that I thought were lost forever. I'm no longer just a reflection of my past. I'm an amalgamation of experiences, a woman who has learned to rise, to adapt, and to inspire. Our conversations deepen, touching on dreams and aspirations. I share my vision for a community workshop, a space where people can come together to share their stories, to heal through creative expression. David's eyes light up with excitement. "Let's do it," he says, enthusiasm bubbling in his voice. "You have so much to offer, and I'd love to help you bring it to life." In that moment, I feel a surge of determination. This isn't just about me anymore. It's about creating a legacy of hope and resilience. It's about leaving a mark on the world, however small, that encourages others to embrace their journeys. As I prepare for the workshop, I find myself reflecting on the concept of legacy. What do I want to leave behind? It's not just about the material possessions or the inheritance I once thought was so vital. It's about the stories, the connections, the love that I've cultivated along the way. I want my legacy to be one of empowerment, of reminding others that they have the strength to overcome their obstacles. With each passing day, I embrace the beauty of transformation. I'm learning that life's challenges can lead to unexpected blessings, and I'm ready to face whatever comes next with open arms. My journey has morphed into one of resilience, hope, and love, and I am excited for the future that awaits. As I look forward, I can't help but feel that this is just the beginning. I have so much more to share, so many more lives to touch. And with David by my side, I know we can create a ripple effect of positivity and hope that extends far beyond ourselves. What if my story could inspire someone else to find their path? Returning to my old home feels surreal. The door creaks open, and I'm hit with a rush of memories that seem to swirl around me like whispers of the past. As I step inside, the familiar scent of aged wood and faded fabric wraps around me. Yet, this time, I don't feel the weight of burden. I glance at David beside me. His presence feels like a lifeline, grounding me in this moment. "Can you believe we're actually doing this?" he asks, a smile playing on his lips. I shake my head, laughter bubbling up. Who would have thought I'd be packing up my past instead of being buried by it? The words carry a lightness I hadn't expected. Together we begin to sift through the remnants of my life, pulling out items that have been gathering dust for years. Old photographs, a chipped teacup, and even a pair of my son's baby shoes. Each piece we uncover tells a story, brings back a memory, and instead of sadness, there's a sense of closure and understanding. "This one's a classic," David says, holding up a faded picture of a family picnic. I can almost hear the laughter, feel the warmth of the sun on my skin. "You've got to tell me about this day." I chuckle, the memory flooding back. "That was the summer we thought the barbecue would be a disaster. Your father nearly burned the burgers, and then we all ended up laughing so hard we nearly cried." David laughs with me, the sound echoing in the quiet room. "I can see where you get your humor. You kept the spirit alive, didn't you?" As we dig deeper, I find a small box tucked away in a corner. Inside, a collection of letters, each one a snapshot of moments long gone. I pull one out, my hands trembling slightly. It's a letter from my late husband, written on our anniversary. His words are filled with love, laughter, and dreams of the future we shared. Reading these is like having him here again, I say softly, my voice tinged with emotion. David nods, his eyes reflecting understanding. "You're not just packing up the past, you're honoring it." With every letter, every photograph, I feel the weight of regret lift. I'm reminded that my life was not just a series of burdens, but a tapestry woven with love, laughter, and resilience. I turn to David, my heart swelling with gratitude. "Thank you for being here with me. I never thought I'd be able to face this alone." "You're not alone anymore," he replies, his voice steady and reassuring. We continue to laugh and reminisce as we pack. I feel lighter, almost as if I'm shedding layers of the past that no longer serve me. Memories of joy fill the air, swirling around us like the dust motes catching the light. Each box we fill is a step towards closure, a reminder that while the past shaped me, it does not define me. As we near the end, I realize that home is not just a physical space, but a feeling of belonging and connection. I look around at the walls that have held so many memories, and for the first time, I don't feel lost in them. I feel empowered. We pause, standing amidst the packed boxes, the silence of the room heavy, yet comforting. "What now?" David asks, his voice breaking the stillness. I take a deep breath, glancing around one last time. "Now, we embrace the future," I reply, my voice firm with conviction. I'm ready to start anew, to create a legacy that reflects who I am now, not who I was. As we step out, the sun shines brightly, illuminating our path. The weight of the past has transformed into a stepping stone, guiding me toward a new life filled with possibilities. With David by my side, I feel a sense of hope I hadn't realized I was missing. "Do you think I'll ever stop feeling like I'm leaving something behind?" I ask, my voice barely above a whisper. He turns to me, a reassuring smile on his face. "You're not leaving it behind. You're carrying it with you. It's part of you, part of your story." I nod, a warmth spreading in my chest. As we walk away from the house, I understand that my journey has not only transformed me, but has also brought us closer. I finally feel ready to embrace this new life, enriched by the lessons learned along the way. And as the door closes behind us, I realize the true essence of home. It's not just about a place, but the love, the memories, and the connections that continue to shape who we are. I glance at David, my heart filled with gratitude. What do you say we make some new memories?" "Absolutely," he replies, his eyes sparkling with excitement. With that, we step into the future hand in hand, ready to embrace whatever comes next. The sun hung low in the sky, casting a warm golden hue on the path ahead. Every step I took felt like a gentle reminder of the journey that had brought me here. A journey filled with heartache, courage, and unexpected friendships. I took a deep breath, inhaling the crisp air, and allowed myself to reflect on all that I had endured. There was a time when I believed my existence was a burden, especially to my own son. But now, standing at this crossroads, I felt lighter. I had shed the weight of others' expectations and discovered a renewed sense of purpose. I recalled the countless nights spent in solitude, the tears shed over memories of a life that felt lost, and the moments of clarity that punctured the darkness. Each experience shaped me, carved my spirit anew. I had learned that life was not merely a series of endings. It was a tapestry woven with beginnings, each thread representing growth and transformation. With a heart full of hope, I embraced the unknown that lay before me. I recognized that there was so much more to explore, not just in the world around me, but also within myself. There would be new adventures waiting just beyond the horizon, new friendships to cultivate, and opportunities for creativity that I had long suppressed. I could feel a spark igniting within me, a desire to share my journey with others, to mentor those who felt lost or unheard. "You're not alone," I would tell them. "Your voice matters. Your story deserves to be told." I envisioned the community center, a hub of connection and creativity where I could gather people from all walks of life. I imagined us sitting in a circle, sharing our experiences, our laughter, and our tears. I wanted to help others find their voices, to encourage them to step into their own power and reclaim their narratives. I could already see their eyes lighting up with understanding, their confidence blossoming like flowers after a long winter. The legacy of love I had built with David would continue to inspire me. It wasn't just about the memories of our laughter or the warmth of his embrace. It was about the lessons he had taught me, the importance of resilience, of standing tall even when the world tried to push me down, and of believing in the beauty of life despite its challenges. He had been my anchor, and now, as I ventured forth, I would carry his spirit with me, nurturing that bond in ways that transcended the physical realm. This is not the end of my story, I thought, but rather the beginning of a beautiful new chapter filled with possibility. I could almost hear David's voice encouraging me to chase my dreams, to embrace the changes life had to offer. Memories flooded my mind, our late-night talks, the way he believed in my creativity, even when I doubted myself. He had seen potential in me when I was just a shadow of who I could be. And now, as I stepped into this new phase, I felt his presence guiding me, whispering words of encouragement in my heart. Suddenly, I was struck by the realization that this journey wasn't just about me. It was also about those who would cross my path. I could feel the weight of responsibility settling upon my shoulders, a commitment to uplift others as I had once been uplifted. There were countless individuals in my community who carried burdens of their own. Each person had a story, a life filled with struggles and triumphs, and I wanted to help them weave their own tapestries of resilience. I envisioned myself sitting across from a young woman, her eyes filled with uncertainty, as she shared her dreams. I would lean in, reminding her that it is okay to be afraid, but that fear should never dictate her choices. I would share my own story of overcoming obstacles, of finding strength in vulnerability, and of how the most beautiful transformations often stem from the most challenging trials. As I walked, I felt a renewed sense of energy coursing through my veins. The world around me buzzed with life, a symphony of sounds that echoed the vibrancy of existence. Children laughed in the distance, and the scent of blooming flowers filled the air, reminding me that life was indeed a precious gift. I wanted to embrace every moment, to savor the beauty that surrounded me, and to invite others to do the same. What if this isn't just a new chapter for me, but for all of us? I pondered. What if my journey inspires others to embark on their own? These thoughts ignited a fire within me. I envisioned hosting workshops where we could explore art, storytelling, and creativity, spaces where individuals could express themselves freely. I imagined a canvas filled with vibrant colors, each stroke representing the unique narratives we all carried. I wanted to create an environment where everyone felt seen, heard, and valued. But I also understood that this journey would not be without its challenges. There would be moments of doubt and fear, and I knew I would have to confront my own insecurities. The world could be daunting, and the voices of criticism might echo in my mind. But I had learned that resilience was not the absence of fear. It was the choice to move forward despite it. I would remind myself that every setback was an opportunity for growth, every obstacle a lesson in disguise. I found comfort in the thought that I wasn't alone in this endeavor. There were others who shared my vision, individuals who believed in the power of community and the strength found in collective storytelling. Together, we would create a network of support, a safety net for those who felt lost. We would lift each other up, share our wisdom, and foster an atmosphere of encouragement. As I continued along the path, the sun began to dip below the horizon, casting a soft glow on the landscape. The colors of the sky mirrored the palette of emotions swirling within me: hope, excitement, and a touch of apprehension. But I welcomed it all. This was the essence of life, the ebb and flow of experiences that shaped who we are. I paused for a moment, allowing the beauty of the sunset to wash over me. I thought about the bonds I would build, the lives I would touch, and the legacy I would continue to nurture. I was embracing the journey ahead, ready to face whatever challenges lay in wait. The future was unwritten, and I was ready to pen my own story, one filled with love, laughter, and the unwavering belief that we all have the power to change our narratives. Up next, we have 2 more incredible stories that are waiting for you. Just click the image you want to watch, and it will take you there. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe. It would mean a lot.